As we are discussing about axially loaded members, in this lecture we will study stresses on inclined sections. We will also try to derive an expressions for normal and shear stresses on inclined sections. So let's start. Stresses on inclined sections. In our previous discussions of tension and compression in axially loaded members, the only stresses we considered were the normal stresses acting on the cross sections. These stresses are pictured here in figure, where we consider a bar AB subjected to axial loads P. When the bar is cut at an intermediate cross-section by a plane MN perpendicular to the x-axis, we obtain the free body diagram as shown here in part B of this figure. The normal stresses acting over the cut section may be calculated from the formula sigma is equal to P over A, provided that the stress distribution is uniform over the entire cross-sectional area A. As we already discussed that these conditions exist if the bar is prismatic, the material is homogeneous, the axial force P acts at the centroid of the cross-sectional area, and the cross-section is away from any localized stress concentrations. Of course, there are no shear stresses acting on the cut section because it is perpendicular to the longitudinal axis of the bar. However, for convenience, we usually show the stresses in a two-dimensional view, as also shown in part B of this figure, rather than more complex three-dimensional view. However, when working with two-dimensional figures, we must not forget that the bar has a thickness that is perpendicular to the plane of the figure. This third dimension must be considered when making derivations and calculations. Stress elements. The most useful way of representing the stresses in the bar is to isolate a small element of material, such as the element highlighted here in figure, and then show the stress acting on all faces of this element. An element of this kind is called a stress element. The stress element at point C is a small rectangular block with its right hand face lying on cross section MN. The dimensions of a stress element are assumed to be a very small, but for clarity we'll draw the element to a large scale. In this case, the edges of the element are parallel to the x, y and z axis, and the only stresses are the normal stresses acting on the x face. Recall that the x faces have their normal parallel to the x-axis. Because it is more convenient, we usually draw a two-dimensional view of the element instead of a three-dimensional view, as you can see here. However, the stress element drawn here only shows the limited view of the stresses in an axially loaded bar. To obtain a more complete picture, we need to investigate the stresses acting on inclined sections, such as the section cut by the inclined plane PQ, as you can see here in figure. Because the stresses are the same throughout the entire bar, the stresses acting over the inclined section must be uniformly distributed. Here is the three-dimensional and two-dimensional view of the cut section. From the equilibrium of the free body diagram, we know that the resultant of the stresses must be a horizontal force that is represented with P. As our task is to derive an expression for stresses on inclined sections, we need a scheme for specifying the orientation of the inclined section PQ. A standard method is to specify angle theta between the x-axis and the normal end to the section, as illustrated here in figure. Thus, the angle theta for the inclined section shown in the figure is approximately 30 degrees. By contrast of the previous case, in which the cross-section MN has an angle theta equal to 0. So let us now return to the task of finding the stresses acting on section PQ. As already mentioned, the resultant of these stresses is a force P acting in the x direction. This resultant may be resolved into two components, a normal force represented with N that is perpendicular to the inclined plane PQ, and a shear force expressed with V that is tangential to it. These force components can be expressed as N, that is actually the normal force, is equal to P cos theta, and V, that is shear force, is equal to P sin theta. Associated with the forces N and V are normal and shear stresses that are uniformly distributed over the inclined section. The normal stress is equal to the normal force N divided by the area of the section. In the same way, the shear stress is equal to the shear force V divided by the area of the section, and it is expressed as normal force is equal to N over A1. In the same way, shear force is equal to V over A1, in which A1 is the area of the inclined section, and it is expressed as A1 is equal to A over cos theta. So at this point we need to establish a standardized notation and sign convention for stresses acting on inclined sections. We will use a subscript theta to indicate that the stress is acting on a section inclined at an angle theta, just as we use a subscript x to indicate that the stress is acting on the section perpendicular to the x-axis. Normal stresses are positive in tension and shear stresses are positive when they tend to produce clockwise rotation of the material. For a bar in tension, the normal force N produces positive normal stress, and the shear force V produces negative shear stress, as shown here in figure. As we know that the normal force N on inclined plane is equal to P cos theta, and tangential force V is equal to P sin theta, and the stress is expressed as force per unit area. The area on which force acts is actually the inclined plane, and it is expressed as A1 is equal to A over cos theta. So the normal and shear stress that are N over A1 and V over A1 respectively can also be expressed as P over A cos square theta, and shear stress is P over A sin theta cos theta after introducing the forces and area terms. Now by introducing the term sigma is equal to P over A, in which sigma x is the normal stress on a cross section. Replace sigma s in place of PA in the above equations. And by introducing the trigonometric relations, cos square theta is equal to 1 over 2 1 plus cos 2 theta, and sin theta cos theta is equal to 1 over 2 sin 2 theta. We get the following expressions for the normal and shear stresses by replacing P over A, and expression becomes sigma x cos square theta. And in the same way, for the case of shear stress, the expression becomes sigma x sin theta cos theta. And after introducing the trigonometric relations, the equations can be expressed as for the case of normal stresses on the inclined plane, the equation is sigma x over 2 1 plus cos 2x. I want to repeat that sigma x is actually the normal stress on a cross section. In the same way, for shear stresses, the expression is sigma x over 2 sin 2 theta. These equations gives the stresses acting on an inclined section oriented at an angle theta to the x-axis. Here it is important to mention that these equations were derived only from statics, and therefore they are independent of the material. Thus these equations are valid for any material, whether it behaves linearly or non-linearly, elastically or inelastically. Maximum normal and shear stresses. The manner in which stresses vary as the inclined section is cut at various angles is shown here in figure. The horizontal axis gives the angle theta as it varies from -90° to +90°, and the vertical axis gives the normal and shear stresses. Note that a positive angle theta is measured counterclockwise from the x-axis and a negative angle is measured clockwise, as we already discussed in previous slides. As shown on the graph, the normal stress equals to the sigma x when theta is equal to 0. Then as theta increases or decreases, the normal stress decreases until its angle reaches to theta is equal to ±90°, and here it becomes 0 because there are no normal stresses on sections cut parallel to the longitudinal axis. Also, we know that when angle theta is equal to ±45°, the normal stress is 1/2 the maximum value. However, for the case of shear stresses is 0 on cross sections of the bar when angle is 0, as well as on longitudinal sections when angle is plus theta or plus 90 or minus 90. Between these extremes, the stresses vary as shown on the graph, reaching the highest positive value when theta is -45 or when theta is +45. The maximum stresses in a bar in tension are shown in figure. Two stress elements are selected. Element A is oriented at 0° and element B is oriented at 45°. Element A has the maximum normal stresses and element B has the maximum shear stresses. In the case of element A, the only stresses are the maximum normal stresses. No shear stresses exist on any of the faces. However, for the case of element B, both normal and shear stresses act on all faces. Consider for instance the face at 45°, the upper right hand face. On this face, the normal and shear stresses are sigma x over 2 and minus sigma x over 2 respectively. Hence, the normal stresses is positive in tension and the shear stresses acts clockwise against the element considered as negative. The stresses on the remaining faces are obtained by substituting the angle in the equations of maximum normal and shear stresses on inclined sections, as are the equations that we derived in previous slides. Thus, in this special case of an element oriented at 45°, the normal stresses on all four faces are the same. Its value is sigma x over 2. And all four shear stresses have the maximum magnitude equal to sigma x over 2. Also note that the shear stresses acting on perpendicular planes are equal in magnitude and have directions either towards or away from the line of intersection of the planes. The state of stress described throughout this section is called uniaxial stress, for the obvious reason that the bar is subjected to simple tension or compression in just one direction. The most important orientations of stress elements for uniaxial stresses are 0° and 45°. The former has the maximum normal stress and the latter has the maximum shear stress. Thank you for your attention.